Okay. I'm a conspiracy theorist, a radical extremist, a paranoid, ridiculous, delusional idealist. I'm a ludicrous anarchist. I'm a pessimistic communist. I'm a woo-woo, hippy-dippy, foil hat enthusiast. I'm an airy-fairy truther. I'm a curly-headed loser. I'm a tripped-out, bleeding-heart cannabis abuser. I'm a pathetic, apathetic, freeloading non-voter. I'm an empathetic, sympathetic, tree-hugging peace promoter. I'm certified organic. I'm hopelessly, endlessly romantic. I'm enigmatic. I'm aloof. I'm charismatic. I'm a goof. I'm annoying. I'm a nuisance. I'm privileged and I'm white. I'm an opinionated SOB who don't lean left or right. I'm anti-war, anti-government, anti-fear, anti-money, pro-love, probiotic, pro-fun, pro-funny. I'm awake, I'm aware, I'm unshackled, and I'm free. I am man, I am beautiful, I'm a you. And you're another me.
Matt, hello. Welcome to another edition of Unite Planet. If you've seen the video at the beginning, that is our guest today. He's an actor, comedian and poet, and he kind of incorporates truth and critical thinking and consciousness into his work. So without further ado, welcome to Benny Wills. Thank you for joining us, Benny.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Brilliant. I mean, you're not the typical kind of guest we have. We have like researchers and everything like that, but you kind of come right into the category of where we're coming from, and we just love the angle that you use, like with the poetry and the comedy. I mean, we often speak, don't we, Paul, about how comedy we think is a brilliant tool to get people to just think. Yeah, just to think, just to look at things a bit differently and get those truth bombs in, and it's just a great way, So we really love your work. It's great what you do. First question, if you don't mind, Benny, is just how did you get to learn about, how this world is really ran? And because was you an actor first, weren't you? Was you a theatrical actor, and then did this come in during that time, and then you changed, you had to change your path a little bit? Tell us how that came about.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's obviously an ongoing process.
Yeah.
But it started because I've had to answer this question so many times. I've had to think about it a lot. My answer changes. Because I'm constantly putting my life under a microscope to try to understand for myself exactly when, paradigms really started to shift. And I can honestly say it's been this way pretty much my whole life. Now, granted, there was more participation on my part as far as really deciding to look into, or I guess aligning with truth more consciously.
Yes.
But I feel like I've been impervious to a lot of the programming since I was born. I mean, I was early on in school very hesitant to accept almost the entire schooling experience. I didn't want to be there. I questioned, not because I was being spiteful or anything, but I was skeptical of everything I was learning as far back as third grade, going, why is this important? And why am I teaching? Why should I trust you? And also not understanding why I couldn't go out and play, or why, if I had an impulse to create, draw, or write, why I had to stop that and then learn something else. It all felt so wrong to me, the whole process. and of course that I developed a sense of like guilt around that because I was constantly being told that I wasn't applying myself, and that I wasn't, that I was I couldn't pay attention, and I had learning, teachers alluded to me having learning disabilities, even though I showed that I was intelligent, and it was a very frustrating experience. But I've always just been drawn to more perspective. I'm still just in awe and shock of people who aren't interested in getting perspective. As far back as I can remember, if there was an established story or an idea, and then someone else was there to say, there's also this way to look at it, or there's also this perspective, I've always just wanted to know what that is, just out of curiosity. And I don't have any walls against that. And I'm surprised that more people aren't like that, because I don't really consider myself to be very special or unique in that way, but I guess I am. I mean, I remember learning about JFK's assassination when I was really young, and because that happened before I was born, I got the whole story of JFK when learning about him and his assassination, and then it was almost like a side note at the very end. They're like, oh, and by the way, there's a conspiracy theory about it that says this whole story is a lie. And I was like, what? What is that story? Like, I want to know about that.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
After tomorrow, those SOBs will never embarrass me again. That's no threat. That's a promise.
But it was very clear. It was a through and through bullet hole through the windshield of the car from the front to the back.
I looked at the wound again. I wanted to know and remember this the rest of my life. And the rest of my life, I will always know it was shot from the front.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
After a deluded gunman assassinated President Kennedy,
drawn to wanting to know what else could be known about a situation. I want all the information possible in order for me to have an opinion on it. And so it started young, really, really young. And then I guess the big one for me, the big catalyst was 9/11.
nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers.
Thank you. Now watch this drive. All right. You need another.
On the day that it happened, I knew that there was something wrong about it, and it just sparked that. That really ignited the fire in me to want to know what truth is and what's the real story. And it's just been all downhill, all uphill since then, depending how you look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is. I mean, it's as much as a conscious thing as an intellectual. In fact, more than a conscious thing than an intellectual one. I think a lot of people who, have come to these realizations and go down this path have always got this innate kind of feeling of looking at all perspectives. Anyway, I think it's ingrained in you, isn't it? Really, I mean, the people who do, look at things with all perspectives, it's always in them. It's always there. So I can totally relate to what you're saying there. And I think 9/11 was kind of a deep waking up point, if want of a better phrase, for a lot of people. I think that, and I think COVID-19 is as well doing that. I know it's quite a big question, but what your take on the current situation with that? Where do you start with that?
Well, it's a lot to unpack, and we're still the dust hasn't settled completely yet, so we're still, I think, trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah.
But I do think that it is it's this generation's 9/11. So it's like the next big one, where there's a lot of deception and a lot of events and a lot of stuff that happens in between. But 9/11 was like such a pillar. I think this is the next pillar, and it almost feels like it's so similar, but it's happening in ultra slow motion.
Yeah,
they're just prolonging the effects of it and making everybody pretty much crazy as a result. But regardless of what it, just kind of like 9/11, where you can't, the absolute truth about it, all the details are still open for debate, like how exactly it all went down. But we can sort of I can't say we all agree, but a lot of us can sense that it's not what we're told, right? The official story is inaccurate, but all the details surrounding it are a little like there's some debate, some unnecessary debate, I think. The same thing about this, like whether it's a real virus, whether viruses exist, whether people are actually dying. Like there's some aspects that I don't know. I have my gut feeling about some of it, but I can see by how they're reacting to it that it's definitely not. It's more than what the official story is, and it's similar to 9/11 in that, 9/11 gave us an enemy, outside. This scary brown man who hates America, who can strike at any time, anywhere. You're never safe. We have the heightened security, and now everybody's a Muslim. They've just made it so that everybody's the terrorist now.
Yeah,
that's pretty obvious. So exactly what the virus is or all of it, I'm not really sure. It doesn't seem to be that deadly, no matter what it is.
That's true. Yeah.
But now we're all the enemy. So it's
the narrative into the invisible killer. It's that's what they're doing. It's that's it. You look at it, and like I said, it's the core of it is what we're being told is not what it really is. That I think that's something that you say we can all agree on, and you get this with everything, don't you? Where there's all these channels you can go down when you get into that. There's a different kind of like beliefs in it, different kind of things that you stick by, and and that can divide people as well. So I think there's infiltrations within the truth movement, various things on purpose. So we divide. I think that's the key thing is they want to divide us, and then they're using the truth movement as well to do that. That's what I've seen as well, which makes things difficult to navigate sometimes. So you just have to go with whatever you relate to best. I guess. I don't know what you think about, if you agree with that or.
Yeah, well, it does get frustrating to see so much infighting in the truth movement and bickering over issues that I don't feel are that. I personally don't feel are that important to bicker over. Of course, those involved might disagree, but it's when we can all agree that there's a common enemy or a common problem, but we get distracted by arguing over minutia, like dietary choices and a lot of other things. I won't go into because I don't want to spark deep debate from people in the comments. I try to keep some of my opinion on some of this stuff private because I don't want to make it about that stuff, those arguments.
I suppose what you do with the comedy and poetry, you can kind of make it where, I mean, what I've seen about your poetry, you make it where you're not really nailing to any detail. You know, it's kind of, I like how you do it. Really, it's hard to explain what I mean, but you know, you're not saying, well, I definitely believe this. This is this bit you've got to. It's almost like it's just encouraging people to be critical thinking and just to be a bit more open and not just regurgitate everything that the media tells you and the politicians tell you. So that's the core of it, really. So you know, so good on you, man.
Thanks. Well, that's always been the goal. I mean, since I started doing the JoyCamp videos and 8 years ago, and now with the poetry, I want to make content that I think is accessible to anyone. And I don't make it for a specific crowd. It's like I'd like to think it's a place for people who are already awake to, you know, not feel so alone, perhaps, or just have it's like a respite for their worries or concerns or whatever, and also for people who might stumble upon it who are not quite as awake, and they can hear it, and maybe it'll, you know, ignite some synapses that are dormant and make them think. And I try not to do stuff that's too heavy-handed or, you know, going to bludgeon people with my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I think comedy is great to do that, because people love comedy. Most people do love comedy, and it's a way in for people who probably not questioned anything before. They'll come across your work, they'll laugh at it, they'll like your poetry and think, hang on a minute, there's something in this. You know, it's a great tool to awaken people, or at least ignite that spark. I think is a great thing to do, and you know, and comedy is a great thing to do that if you do it correctly, which I think you do. You know, the way you do it, I think is just exactly how it should be done. So
appreciate that.
Yeah. So you know, and I mean, when we do our videos, Interpol, we're always conscious that we are like preaching to the converted as such, you know, but there's also one element of it to people who haven't looked at anything before or anything. You've always got to have that kind of like, you don't want to be too, not all the time, at least, only too kind of like anchored into the detail, and you know.
Exactly. The other thing is that concerns me is the snowflake situation that's going on. Everyone's insulted easily, you know, and offended. How do you, you know, that's my thing, you know, how do you, you know, go around that, you know, because you're in comedy, and you know, it's so hard to make a comedy now without insulting people.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. We are, I've kind of backed off from trying to target people who are not wanting to hear it. I have, my priorities have shifted. You know, I'm on the other side of 35 now, and I have a wife, and she's pregnant, and so I have to be I have to be, I don't want to say careful, but more strategic in how I approach topics and issues, because I don't want to fight. I'm so sick of having, I mean, one of the reasons why I got into creating content at all was because I hated having arguments with people. And if you ever read, regardless of what someone might feel about Dale Carnegie, his book is great, you know, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he says, don't even have arguments. That's like the trap. Don't have arguments. There's no winning in an argument. And it's sound advice. And now it's become a lot about internalizing for me. So I'm making sure that I'm aware and ahead of the curve so that I can keep my family safe and keep us all in a good situation. And when those opportunities arise, when it's someone in my life, a family or a friend who is saying something that maybe is something I don't agree with, I've learned tactics on how to bring up topics and bring up ideas in a gentle way that's non-confrontational, where I'm in a neutral place because they're most likely in an emotional place, and sort of navigate the conversation in a way that I can not beat them over the head, just like with poetry or comedy, but in conversation. Like not beat them over the head with the idea, but just plant the seeds and have no stake in the outcome. If they choose to, you know, ignore it, I'm not going to keep pushing because it's not my battle. It's not something I want to fight for. So things are always shifting. I keep making the content, and I do keep getting messages from people saying, you really helped me, or I shared this with someone and now we can talk about it. And so it's still working. So, but my personal tactics are always changing and improving.
Yeah, I think that's how. I mean, when I first started to look into things, I think you'd learn to handle it a bit better, because at first you're just so frustrated. You almost. I mean, I was quite angry at first. You have all these emotions at first that you don't know really how to handle it, and then you kind of adapt and learn a bit as you go on. So I can see where you're coming from with that. I mean, with your close family and friends, are they on board with a lot of what you go with, or it?
Not really.
Yeah,
no, I mean my parents are a little better.
Yeah,
I see them so much, and I'm close with them, and they've been I've been ranting and raving about the government since 2003.
Yeah, ditto. Yeah.
Yeah, but they understand where I'm at, and they love JoyCamp, and they love my poetry, and they're very supportive. They just they fall into the trap of watching too much TV.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And so we are at odds sometimes, but they'll listen, and I think I've really helped get them to at least accept more perspective. But other family members, I honestly don't even try, because we've been at odds, and I'd rather, like my sister, for instance, she came to my wedding last year, and we really kind of made peace, because we've been sort of estranged for a long time, and I'd rather be friends with her than try to change her mind about everything, because she lives too far away. I know that if I were to give her anything, a poem or video, or an article or someone else's video, she would not only ignore it, but it would create more distance between her and the truth. So I'd rather just keep the peace, find the things that we agree on and can talk about, and then and maybe some people would think that's cowardly, but it's not, because we've gone at it before, and it solves nothing. So it's really about picking your battles. And there are some of my friends who I've known for a long time who are getting a little sucked into this new narrative, and I do want to talk to them about it, but I will not engage on social media with them about it, because I think that's destroying our ability to communicate. So I'm really hoping I get a chance to see some of my friends and discuss this stuff, because I know that our friendship is established. They know that I'm already the conspiracy guy, and I think I can bring up some topics that will make them think. And but I don't want to blow it by cramming it down their throats by saying, look, watch this video and look at this, and that. I think social media really is destroying our ability to communicate effectively.
Yeah, I mean, when you do that too often, it drives people, like you say, away more than you actually uniting people. When you force it down people's throat. I mean, I basically just with close friends and family, I'll wait till they bring anything up, because they know where my position is.
Exactly.
So they can come to me if they want. Oh, what do you think about this, or what do you think about that? If they show an interest, then what they want to know from my perspective, I will share with them. But
exactly, yeah, it's about being strong in the truth, so that even my sister, who I don't want to fight with, but if she were to bring up some nonsense in a conversation, I would respond to it. I wouldn't just let it go. And I would do it in a loving way, in a non-confrontational way as possible. And so it's just about tact. And I now more than ever, I'm less concerned with waking up the masses and more concerned with focusing on my life and focusing on the community around me, not just me, obviously, but my family, the people who I know who are close to me, in proximity, literally in proximity close, and making sure that we can ride this wave and not get swallowed up by it.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I'll try and come from a more spiritual point, really. Which is more. It's more easy to be loving that way. If if say my family are, you know, saying stuff or you know, don't disagree with me and everything like that, bring anything up, I try and kind of bring in, well, you know, we're all one consciousness. You know, I kind of go that direction before, you know, because my mother's quite religious, so I can kind of use that angle a little bit to go that way. I mean, I'm not religious at all, but I'm very spiritual, so I use that, and we get a connection that way, and it's a lot better that way. You know, I don't ram the political thing down the throat unless you ask, you know. So I don't know, Paul. I don't know if you do that. I don't. What?
Yeah, well, I tend to go away now from social media.
Yes,
as much as I want to promote United Planet, personally, for myself, I've gone away now from social media. I want to obviously do more with promoting United Planet, but not myself so much. So that's a bit of a hard balance for me at the moment. I'm just thinking I don't want to be myself anymore on posting stuff, but United Planet, I'll post stuff.
Yeah. Do you post stuff, Benny, or do you not go down that route anymore of posting things on Facebook and that?
Well, I try to. So I do post, but seldomly, because I try. I really. What I don't like about social media, it gets. I don't know. It's too. If I post something that's like confrontational on Facebook, I'm thinking about it for the rest of the day. I'm like thinking about people who are going to respond to it, what it's going to be like, and how I'm going to respond, and it's just kind of like it affects my mind, and it's hard for me to just drop something and then not you know, and completely detach. So I try to, and I have a YouTube channel, and I have the videos that I make that you know, it's obvious where I stand. So people will go to my channel, they'll see I'm not trying to hide anything. But on like the social media platforms, like with Instagram, for instance, I will try to post memes that can get to everybody, that are like, you know, those little zingers that are funny, but also that anybody can relate to, like that kind of expose the absurdity of the whole situation, that is totally apolitical, but can also still, like, you know, a friendly reminder, like this is all ridiculous. And it seems to work. Like, it's pretty, you know, hands off, and I get all range of the spectrum of, I guess, belief systems liking it usually, which is good. And I also, when I post something on Facebook, if I do feel compelled to actually share something that I think is important, I'll pose it with a question rather than a statement, or like, watch this. I'll be like, what do you think about this? Or, you know, I don't know. I'll be non-committal. I'll be neutral in posting it, so that doesn't become something that you know, it's not coming from me anyway. It's sharing something. So I do the same thing in conversation. I will, especially those heated moments where someone's really passionate and emotionally attached to an idea, I try to be as unattached as possible and say, well, you know, there's another way. Some people think that, or there's another perspective, or did you know that there's a theory about that? And I will bring up the alternative idea or another perspective, but not take ownership of it. It's not it's just, I'm just relaying it, but it's not my information. I don't own it. It's not something that I need to associate with, and, you know, it's not a part of my identity. So that seems to work. Dropping those little breadcrumbs and asking questions, and so that then when people ideally come back some point later and they're like, wow, did you know that, you know, so-and-so? And I don't get any credit for it, because all I did was plant the seed, but luckily they opened the door, and I have to, you know, remove myself from feeling like I need the credit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I'm not way to explain it, but yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much how I deal with things now. You know, I do it from a kind of almost like an outside view perspective, rather than, like I say, taking ownership of it. You know, I think you do get better results that way, because people aren't as kind of aggressive or confrontational that way. You know, so I've adopted that too. You know, so I agree with you there totally. Just ask you something that not completely different, but of all your poems you've performed and written, is there one poem or several that you really think, oh, I've really got that's like your golden, you know, the one that's like your greatest hit, you know?
Whatever's the newest one, I always love the most.
Oh, I love that.
Whatever's the freshest.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. I like them all. There's certain ones that seem to be the most powerful as far as sharing them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I like them more. Like I do my one about racism, and every time I do that, people really, really, really respond well. And of course, the very first one I wrote was called "Bill Lost His Memory," and that was the start of the whole thing for me. So like that one has a real special place in my heart.
Bill lost his memory, so he asked me for a summary. I said, "Bill, that's a mighty task. Are there more specific questions you could ask?" So Bill asked, "Why are some people's homes so wide and tall, while other people have no homes at all? And if no one wins when bombs are dropped, why have bombs not yet been stopped? What's this grimy, greenish paper called that's got you and them and all enthralled? Where'd you get this thing called debt? Where's the love? Where's the trust? Where's respect? Why is he afraid of him and she of her and us of them? Is this a dream? Am I dreaming? Because certainly it's seeming that peace could be what's beaming, yet I'm seeing and I'm deeming that this place has gone to hell. And the attitudes, meh, oh well." I said to him, "It's true. It's grim. Things are bizarre." "Bizarre?" he said. "More like madness, friend. This world is moving forward toward a sad and bitter end. There's delusion and confusion, depression from oppression. There's disillusion, air pollution, and obsession for possession." The memory lapse to which Bill succumbed I thought was nothing short of scary. On the bright side, though, he wasn't dumb or lacking in vocabulary. "Well, Bill, the world is run by men in suits who wreak havoc and give no hoots. They built a system that is anti-life, that thrives on pain and nurtures strife. A system that's taught us to fear our neighbor and please report any strange behavior because of an ism called terror. So the soldiers go on fighting, thinking that's what keeps us free, and people go on dying in the name of liberty. And the food we eat is tainted, and the water supply is low, and movie stars are sainted, and prisons grow and grow. Money is that greenish thing, and you're lucky if you have it. With enough, you get some bling, but nothing if you haven't. Call it cash, call it currency, or the almighty intangible dollar. It's the thing that keeps a few on top, but most of us in squalor. And while empty houses line the blocks, houseless people sleep on rocks, and flaccid men take little pills to stiffen up their— "Stop!" Bill interjected dejectedly. "Please, don't say another word. That hopeless essence in your voice, it's like you're chomping on a turd." It's funny. With no memory, how now my thoughts are crystal clear. Simply simplify the things we do, and the change we need appears. Instead of asking what you want from life, tap into life and its wants of you. Because our wants indeed are limitless, but the wants of life are few. Grow, unfold, dare to be of service, create, be bold, align yourself with purpose. Because change won't come from presidents. It won't appear on your TV or alert you on your cell phone. It comes only from you and me. Obviously. So smile and say hi to passers passing by, because the micro affects the macro like a ripple in a lake, and slow and steady the system fails as humanity awakes. Whoa. Bill. It has been a pleasure chatting with you. I'm sorry if that sounded sarcastic. It's really just the way I talk. Your monologue was fantastic. Seriously, I'm enthusiastic. We are healthy cells inside a virus who are longing to mature. I am one and you're another, and together we're the cure. Yes, he said. And now we start. Clear the doubt within your mind. Kindness in the human heart is the hope for all mankind.
I don't know. I'm gonna post one today, repost one anyway. That's to my dad because yesterday was his birthday, and that one every time I read it, it makes me cry. So that's special to me. But they all, yeah, I don't know. They're all I just like the JoyCamp videos. I can't just pick one. I mean, they're all my babies. They're my creations.
Yeah. You know, when you either do a poem or a comedy, or when you finish it, like writing it or anything, do you at that moment have you had a lot of this feeling of when you sit back and think, and you're proud of it? You know, that must be a great kind of feeling. You know, you've produced something that you're really proud of at that moment. You think, yeah, this is great. You know, do you get that a lot? Because you know that must be great to do that. You know.
Yeah. In fact, I don't really feel comfortable sharing a piece until I have that feeling. So there's still some poems that, because I write a poem, my discipline with it is I write one poem a month. So it's pretty loose, but it's very consistent. And there's still ones that I've written in the past that, since I haven't arrived at that place where I love it, I don't share them. And I actually shared one like that I wrote, gosh, almost 4 years ago. And I shared it for the very first time for some people 2 nights ago. And they loved it. I was like, whoa, so maybe this is better than I thought. So maybe I should not use my own, personal feeling towards them as my gauge. But then again, I also tell people when it comes to artistic creation or any sort of creative output, you work on it with the goal of loving it. A lot of times, especially with poetry, because I deal with a lot of poets now, or people who want to write poetry, and they'll just write something and then forget about it. They're like, put it out there, and I'll ask them, how do you feel about it? I'm like, I feel okay. I'm like, well, how about you just not put it aside and keep focusing on it and keep working on it until you feel like you love it and that you really want to share it. It's almost like they're embarrassed or they don't feel like they can. Yeah. They're not. It's not going to be that good. Like their confidence in themselves is low, so they write something initially, they create something, and then they move on from it, and it's not done yet. But because they don't believe it could be better, or they don't think anyone's going to like it, it just becomes, it's just like this raw piece that sort of exists, and they move on. And I tell people, keep working on it until you love it.
And I think that's the thing. I mean, I think a lot of people seem to forget that poetry is also an art form. It's like music and art, and anyone who's in them, them kind of things, they always love what they do before they release it. So it shouldn't be anything different, with poetry. I think people don't really view it the same. A novel they might do because they think, well, you invest more time in a novel, but I suppose you invest just about more time in a poet. I think people probably forget that, and I didn't realise that. I mean, is that how it is for you? Do you feel like a poet? Poetry is an art form. Do you go with that?
Absolutely, and I think that my personal opinion on poetry is that it's been somewhat bastardized, especially in the last 100 years. And I actually have a poem called "Poetry is Dead." I think that there's like a modern misconception about poetry that if it rhymes, it's somehow less than. And it's better to have it really be emotive and passionate, like just kind of free verse and just mind vomit. And I can't stand that kind of poetry personally. And if you look at any great poets from before the 20th century, they all rhymed. Poetry was rhyming. And it's not a cop-out. It actually makes it incredibly hard. If you read a poem like The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, which we all know, but if you actually analyze it, it's unbelievably brilliant and complex. I mean, he has the structure of his rhyme scheme is, I mean, it's absolutely brilliant.
Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, nothing more. Then, this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stirred decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
I would, if I could strive to do something half as good as that, I'd be very happy. It's unbelievably brilliant. So to think that, and so that we've now in the, this sort of like, well, even now in this victim culture, emotive, if it feels true, it is true, reality we live in, its poetry is just, most of the time it just sucks, in my opinion. I'll go to an open mic night and people will go up there and they'll be on their phone and they'll read something that they just wrote, in the car ride over, and it's complaining about something or somebody, and it's just kind of like all over the place, and then everybody claps. I'm like, you shouldn't be, not that this person shouldn't be going up there, but go up there with something worthwhile, something of substance. You can take that same story, even if it is a story where you were oppressed or you felt something, whatever, carve it into something that's more interesting. Because by the way, everybody's suffering in their own way, and they appreciate a performer who's relieving them of their suffering more than if you're going up there to get people to feel sorry for you, it's a drag. Now, not to say there's not a place for it, but make it interesting at least. And the analogy I like to use is, you wouldn't go up on stage in front of a crowd and play the piano if you don't know how to play the piano. You wouldn't go up there and just bang on keys and call it a song and expect everybody to clap. But that's what's happened to poetry. You think they just write stuff down and they go up there and say it with emotion that it's somehow a poem. To me, it's not. And I would love to take those people and like have a workshop and help them. Not that it has to arrive at a rhyming place like me, but just so it's deepened, it's more interesting. It's not just mind vomit.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how you describe that, really, because I mean it's like music, really, like any art form, the way poetry is. I mean, I suppose you look down the history of poetry, like the beat poet. I don't know what you think about the beat poets back in the day. They were kind of instinctually linked with like jazz and stuff like that, and drugs a bit maybe. But what did you? I mean, what did you think of them? Because they were quite free flowing a little bit,
There's a place for it. I mean, someone like Charles Bukowski, for instance, I love his poetry. I mean, I don't love all of it, but when he's on, man, I mean, it's brilliant and it never rhymes. In fact, he didn't like rhyming poetry, and that's okay. But there's something, you can tell that some of the stuff he just kind of rattles off. He writes a lot of stuff, but he strikes gold, and it's awesome, and it's free verse, and it's kind of like that beat poetry stuff. It just depends. I think that you have to craft it a bit.
Yeah.
If you don't like what you're doing, how can you expect someone else to like it? Like it's kind of rude even. Like I wrote this. I don't really know what to think about it, but here it is. Like why do I want to read that then?
Yeah, not really selling it, is it really?
Like I hate it, but I hope someone else will like it. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like with poetry, do you sometimes? I don't know. I'm just thinking on my feet. Do you line it like with modern art? Like modern art, there's some modern arts you can see that it's got validity and it's got substance, and then there's others that are just what the hell is that?
Literally shit.
Yeah. Do you find poetry can be the same? Is it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was at the. When I lived in LA, I went to the Los Angeles County of Modern Art, Museum of Modern Art, and some of the stuff there was just so bad. There was one piece, and I have to like keep myself in check. I don't have to like art just because it's in a museum or in a gallery. I'm allowed to be objective about it. Yeah. And so much of it is just shit. Yeah. Literally. In this case, there was one piece that was inside of a glass box, and it was a piece of elephant dung with a chain around it. And that was it. That was it. And I was looking at it, and it started to piss me off. I'm like, I'm literally in a museum looking at a piece of shit. Yeah. But then, but I still have like mixed feelings about it because I feel like it's such an insult. but at the same time, like, it's the only thing I remember about that day, about everything in the gallery. So I'm like, do I hate it or do I love it? Like, it's is it brilliant or is it just a big, F you to me? Maybe it's both. I don't know, but that's what you get. That's the kind of thing you get in a modern art museum. Piece of shit in a glass box. I paid admission to go see it.
I mean, I was saying we're in Glasgow last year, and went to the Modern Art Museum in Glasgow, and there was one piece that was like a battered kettle. That was it. And the artist said he's just finding a skip, literally, and plonked it. That was that, and we're just, what the hell? I mean, and I was just struggling to get anything from that. Just picking up a skip because it's a bit battered, and that was art. So I kind of struggle with some concepts. But if there is a concept, sometimes I wonder if there is. But so I get that. Totally. Have you, with your poetry? I mean, I've seen that your comedy. Have you done any like non-comedic poems? Have you done anything that's more serious, or do you not kind of?
I'd say most of my poems are not funny. I wish I actually had more funny ones.
I kind of get what you mean in a way. Yeah.
There's most of my poetry is actually pretty, I don't know, deep and like not funny.
But the way it's presented, the way you present it is kind of, I don't know, because I suppose the messages on a lot of them have got a serious kind of underlining kind of thing about it, But it's like, I remember John Lennon saying about his album, it was like sugar-coated politics, I suppose you kind of like sugarcoat the truth, I suppose, in poetry, so it's more accessible. Is that, how would you say it, how you view it? I don't know if that's
truth in poetry.
Yeah, like with you, the way you look at it, the way you've done it, you've kind of made it acceptable more.
It's really just a way to organize my own thoughts.
Yeah, I suppose
it's a way to take an idea and, like, how do I want to explain this fleeting thought that I'm having, that I feel something about, and I'll try to put it into a poem, because then it becomes, a poem makes it like exact. There's no filler words, there's no rambling. It's just, here's the whole idea in this bite-sized morsel. So something like that racism poem that I mentioned, like, okay, what do I want to say about racism? What are my thoughts on it? Because when I think about it, I get all stirred up. So how do I turn that feeling into something that I can share with people? That's not just a rant, or not just my opinion. So I try to just make sense of it and write it down and make it some. And I also, all my poetry, I write stuff that I feel like I would want to hear. So if somebody, so I make it melodic. I want it to be something that feels good to listen to. And so if someone were to go up there and do what I do, if I saw someone like me doing what I do, that kind of poetry, I'd be like, this is great. I write what I would like to hear.
I suppose that's the best way to go about it, really. I mean, like I said before, you can't write something that you hate, because, like you said, why would anyone else, appreciate that?
Yeah.
What have you got anything like in line for the future? Have you where you're taking your poetry or your comedy? Have you got anything in your mind where you want to go from here, or do you just let things naturally develop? I mean, how's your process?
Well, I mean, since we're all just in this really strange moment, I mean, the primary focus for me is, again, making sure that my family is safe and secure, and that we are riding the wave and not underneath it. But regarding my work, I'm sticking with the same process. I write one poem a month. I have a book that's in the process of being published. And I'm putting everything that I have learned and what I'm good at into a course that I can share with people and help people. And it's called Parrhesia, which is a forgotten word in our lexicon, and it means to speak boldly or freely. And I love this word. And I'm constructing a course that's multi-week that is taking all the experience I have speaking in front of crowds, because I've been performing on stage for 20 years, And I've learned a lot, and I can share what tools help me be able to speak freely in front of a crowd and not be afraid. So how to overcome fear of public speaking. That's the first part of the course. The second part of the course is how to be tactful in conversation. Because now more than ever, we need to have tools to be able to communicate. So the whole arc of the course is communication. And the second aspect of it is how to bridge the gap between you and people that you love, so that you don't just fight each other, you don't lose them as your friends, or cut them off as your family, or they cut you off from them, and how to still engage, and how to tackle these difficult subjects without hating each other. And then third is how to communicate through your artistic or creative expression, whatever that is, to help unlock those tools, how to overcome your own doubt about your ability to do it, or doubt that people will like it. And so it's this, overview, it's this course, The Art of Communication. I'm calling it Parrhesia, and that's what I'm really excited about, because it's not just my output, comedy, poetry, something that I create that I want people to like, but actually something that I can offer that is a toolkit to help you also not do what I do, but maybe utilize to help you communicate better in all ways.
That's brilliant. I mean, just listen to you, how you describe that is exactly what we need now. I've got so many conversations, and people on Facebook are always asking questions on forums of how do I, converse with friends and family, especially during now, everything with the COVID. People are really stressed out about this. This is really a concern for many people. So, this is a great, it sounds like a great book that you're doing. This is, I think, perfect for now, for always, but especially now. So yeah, I'm loving that. Have you got an idea when it's going to be released? Have you got
Well, yeah, I'm kind of going back and forth on that, because I'm currently doing a beta course version of it. So I'm through Discord and Zoom. I'm doing a weekly workout, basically. So I present my presentation for that week, and I have 20 people or so in there who are listening and giving me feedback, so I can really fine tune it. And I have a whole team of people, which is really awesome, working to make it all come to life. So helping me with the website, marketing, email, all kinds of stuff to get this out there, because this is really a huge project, and it's almost feels like the next phase of my own evolution. So I did comedy, sketches, poetry, and performance and traveling, and now it's okay. Now I'm in the teacher role again, because I used to be a teacher. That was like my primary gig for years. I taught acting, and this is like taking the skills that someone can utilize for acting, but not act. It's for yourself. It's like these tips and tricks. But so this is the next evolution, the next step of my own personal evolution, and the time frame is looking like it'll be October, November. So we're going to get everything lined up now, doing the beta course, so that I'm not learning while I'm also trying to teach. So I can get the feedback now and then launch it in a couple months. I'm mentioning in a lot of my channels so that people, if they're interested, they can email me and they'll be up to date when it's ready. But I'm hoping in a couple months, because my wife is due in October, and it'd be great to have this up and running, if not by then shortly after, so that it's my job. This becomes my job. This is my work at home gift to the world. And it's I offer, because I don't know if you guys are familiar with Richard Grove from Tragedy and Hope, but he's the one who he's awesome. He's the one who got he got me to think this way. He said, you can write a poetry book and want people to buy it, and some people will love it and they'll want to buy it. But if you write the book How to Write Poetry, that's going to sell more. People are more interested in how you do something than the actual outcome. And that was like a light bulb moment. And for years, people have been asking me, I perform at conferences and whatnot, and they say, how did you do that? And I kind of ignore the question. I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about the piece itself. And they like the poetry, of course, but they want to know my tricks. Like, how did I do that? How did I get comfortable performing? How did I memorize all that stuff? How did I write it? They want to know the process. So now I'm going to share the process, and it can be, all those tools can be applied to every single form of communication. And so, yeah, now we need to be able to communicate better than ever. And so I'm really excited to make this my job.
That's brilliant. So so it's November. I mean, we'll promote it, this side of the pond as much as we can, because it's got me excited. I want to buy it now. It's brilliant. This is fantastic stuff. I mean, acting, that's a form of communication itself, isn't it? So I mean, it's I can see how you're gonna. Well, I can't say it, but I can see just from a little perspective how you can develop that from your background. I think you'll do it. I think it'd be a fantastic project. So we'll promote it as much as we can, because
Cool.
I think it's a great project. Listening to how you're describing it, it's
so Parrhesia, the art of communication. If anybody's interested, just based on this interview, email me, benny@bennywills.com.
Oh, we'll do all the links.
That'll get you in my email loop so that you can stay up to date. And my website, I mean, I've had a website for a while, but we're currently rebuilding it. But if you just keep an eye on bennywills.com, all the information will be there. But in the meantime, just email me and subscribe to my channel on YouTube, because I talk about it a lot there as well.
Brilliant. Well, just before we wrap up, the question is, it's kind of going off that a little bit, back to the conspiracy kind of thing. What are your hopes for the future? It's going to be a big question as well, of mankind. When you think of how COVID's going and how this is being played out to mankind, do you see mankind coming together at some point? Is it possibility? I mean, I do feel a lot of people are waking up. Is it enough? Are we doing enough? It's a bit of a big question to bring on you, I know.
Well, I always hope for the best, of course. I do feel like you said this, I agree with something you said earlier, and I think this is a spiritual war.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And I think good wins in the end. But this is, while the situation we're in now sucks, I hate it, but it's not like it's that unsurprising now that it's happening. A lot of us have been shouting from the rooftops for years, warning people that this is the kind of situation that we might be in for, and now it's here. So I think that, there's ultimately good wins. What path it will take for them, I think that things will, depending on your perspective, things will get a lot worse in certain areas, and a lot of people will probably continue to be affected unpleasantly as a result. But I am seeing people snap out of their trances and start questioning things, people that I wouldn't have expected before. The big problem is that the ones who are puppeteering this are in control of all the biggest megaphones. They have the media, they have the government, they have all the corporation marketing, universities, Hollywood, all of it, and that's a pretty strong opponent. Now, granted, I think that the puppeteers are also just like the wizard behind the curtain and Wizard of Oz. It's just these Bill Gates, Dr. Fauci, people like that. I could beat them up with one fist and the other one tied behind my back. They're pretty weak as far as individuals go, but they have PR and they have power and they have influence, and mind control is real. So the biggest obstacle is the fact that so many people are buying it. The Agent Smiths in the Matrix. So I don't know. I think that we're going to see some more difficult times. Not just going to solve itself overnight. I like to think that the the pedophilic aspect is their Achilles heel. I think that that's a real, if we can exploit that, it might help to really expedite the healing process.
Yes, I can see.
I don't know. I think it's also compelling so many people back to a place of self-reliance, which I think is a good thing. And we have been, I think that sorry, this is a long answer, but it's a complicated question.
Exactly, yeah.
I think we've been slowly seduced away from our natural element. So we've been like seduced by the system to leave the land. So we're no longer stewarding the land, the majority of us. We've left our community, and we don't have a real support system. We don't know how to live symbiotically with the world around us or the people around us. And so we get seduced away from all this and into this system that is really just defeats our spirit. And now the system is taking away our privileges. So they're saying, now they're not yours anymore. Well, the system is what gave us those privileges in the first place by seducing us away from our own self-reliance and autonomy. And so a lot of people are now remembering that it's important to grow your own food and have a support team around you, and just kind of be self-sufficient. And I think that's a good thing. So I don't know. I hope for the best. I hope it's not too drawn out. I hope it doesn't involve a lot of people dying.
Yeah.
And I do have faith. I have a baby on the way. To me, that baby's coming for a reason. It's not an accident. It certainly wasn't an accident for us to create that life. And I think that God has a plan. And I think that this person is coming to the world right now, and it's at the right time. And I'm here for the right time. We're all here because we're supposed to be here. And it all means something, and good ultimately will, reign.
Yeah, I can relate to everything you said there perfectly. So it's it's pretty much where we're coming from as well. I kind of see it as there's going to be some choppy storms on the way, but I still have faith. I think there's a lot of reasons to be hopeful. I think, and we've just got to keep positive, keep the energy up, because if we suck down to that low energy, we're just going to get involved in it. We're just going to get synced with it. So yeah, I totally agree. So I think it's a great place to end this, Ben, if that's okay. I think this has been a great chat. I loved how we've gone into your work as well as conspiracy. I didn't want to, we didn't want it just to be about conspiracy. We wanted it to be about, your work and where you're going with everything, because we love your work. We want to get to know more about that and where you're going with that. So it was great to get that in as well as your perspective on everything. So it's been great talking to you, Benny.
Yeah, great chat. And anybody listening, hit me up, Benny at bennywills.com. That's my email address. Go to youtube.com/bennywills. Who knows how long the channel will last, but it's there now, and that's the best source for me to find me in my work and to get in contact with me, and just keep an eye out for Parrhesia.
Exactly. We'll have all the links below, and when
I'll send them over to you.
Yeah, brilliant. And we'll promote that and everything. So it's been brilliant, Benny. Thank you for joining us and giving up your time for us.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, have a great day. Rest of the day, Benny.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Okay. What was I going to do next? Good news. I have good news. First, more bad news, though. So, I don't know about everyone in this room, but I've been going down this path for a long time now. And about 10 years ago, when I was met with criticism, it was usually more dismissive. If people didn't want to hear what I had to say, they'd write me off as being a conspiracy theorist or just scoff at me, whatever, roll their eyes. But now those same people are irate with me. They're so angry at the ideas I bring forth, and they're calling me dangerous. And I've actually lost communication with some old friends and even some family members this past year. And that's been really hard, and I'm sure that a lot of you can relate to that. When you're just trying to help things, but people are assuming you're some, right-wing nut job. So I found a solution, and that's the good news. And I'll talk about it. So, some people think I'm crazy. Some people think I'm dumb. Some people think I'm racist. Some people think I'm scum. I've been called a bigot. I've even been called a Nazi. I've been called a fucking idiot and a stupid, brainwashed zombie. I tried to put my dukes up, tried my hand at fighting back. I tried to just ignore it by cutting them some slack. I added logic to my tool belt, loaded facts into my arsenal. I triple-checked my sources, and I cited every single article. But repeatedly, I got denied because I'm a kooky, alt-right, conspiracy kind of guy. In their eyes, of course, not mine. In their eyes, I saw myself. In their eyes, I saw their fear. In their eyes, I saw the lies they liked, they were clutching to so dear. I saw that it was safe in there. I saw that it was comfortable in spite of their despair. Their chains were weighing heavy on their slouching, sloping shoulders, while they wrestled insecurity and a fear of growing older. They couldn't hear what I was saying, couldn't accept that they'd been duped. They instead preferred the television and acceptance from the group. My objective reasoning, therefore, simply fell upon deaf ears. I stood no chance at penetrating the programming that had been running them for years. And just like that, it hit me. I knew it must be done. A new approach entirely to empower me that would also be more fun. Be undeniable. Become undeniable. Sheep will sleep and cattle may battle, but my life could be undeniable. Walk your talk, be undeniable. Set an example, be undeniable. Steward the earth, be undeniable. Be the best you and become undeniable. If the life you lead is exciting, your life will be undeniable. If you're successful in life and you're thriving, your life then becomes undeniable. If you're adding value and striving to make your life undeniable constantly, every day, always, in all ways, your life will be absolutely 100% undeniable. So don't be a crybaby, be undeniable. Don't be a victim, be undeniable. Don't be a sellout little bitch. Be the one. Be like Jesus. Be someone irrefutably, unequivocally, without any doubt, undeniable. Be anything but basic. That's it. One more.